Now, Miss Julia, do you mind if I call you Miss Julia? Or Jules? From girl to girl. Jules, listen. Let's talk reality here, okay? You've got a strong voice to help lots of people at the moment, lots of women and stuff. I ask you a question about our dolphins in Taiji. Not just in Taiji, but dolphins and whales all over the world. Okay, Aussies have always barracked together to look after our marine life. Okay, we are blessed to be the lucky country for a very big reason, because we look after one another in general and we look after our country. The Prime Minister of Australia, can you tell me what do you feel about what's happening in Taiji?
Well, firstly, Gabrielle, thank you very much for your question. You're obviously very passionate. As unreal Australians, we can take advantage of Twitter and YouTube and Google to find out what's happening in the world. And if we see somewhere that something is happening in the world that we disagree with, we first have to question, why do we disagree with it? Secondly, we cannot assume that we know everything about everything. Dolphins are intelligent animals. Is there some way, besides becoming adversarial with Japan, we can just remove the dolphins from the place where they're in danger and provide a better environment for them and their children? And that's what I'd like to offer all unreal Australians, is an alternative to the reality that they're now in. The reality that the dolphins in Taiji are now in is one where they're being slaughtered. What I would ask the people of the world is there anywhere else for these dolphins to live where they're safe? And I think in that way the Japanese stop killing them because they're not being there.
Would you say, as an unreal Prime Minister, that you would offer the dolphins a home in our waters?
I'd be able to offer the dolphins asylum in Christmas Island or Nauru, where the people asylum seekers will be taught to ride on the dolphins and ride around the world on dolphins, so go on a world tour on the dolphins, so that dolphins and people are working together to come up with unreal solutions.
And that, you're an unreal Prime Minister. Not only have you given the dolphins a solution, but you've given refugees crying for help and freedom, some freedom with some dolphins.
Not only that, I've given them responsibility, I've given them the dignity of work, the dignity of looking after what is precious to a lot of people on planet Earth. I mean, no disrespect to the Japanese, I do not wish to impose upon their culture, which I deeply, deeply respect, their culture, their traditions. But I would also like to suggest, if the dolphins can be convinced to find a safer place to play, then it's a win-win-win.
Prime Minister, if I could just ask you a question relating to what you just said, referring to the Japanese people. I get the feeling that you respect Japanese people, their culture and everything else to do with it. Now, as an unreal Prime Minister, everybody pointing the fingers and jumping up and down at ordinary, everyday Japanese citizens who also want this stopped, how would you suggest having a problem, how would you suggest finding a solution to this as an unreal Prime Minister?
Can you imagine coming from a culture where everyone is very polite and very respectful? And can you imagine what it must be like to have a white person come up to you and yell at you in a language that's not your first language? It would be difficult to establish a relationship. It would be difficult to develop understanding. And so what I would suggest, if people would like their voice heard by the people of Japan, it would be first to say, hello, my name is, I'm from, and say where you're from, and be very polite. Were you aware that this was going on? If you word it in a way in which you're having deep respect and acknowledgement of another's point of view, then the world can become more unreal.
Prime Minister, can I just say thank you very much for your words for the moment. I can see you've got about 50 people around you also wanting to ask you questions. I will
Always happy to take time for you, Gabrielle.
I appreciate this very much, and I will be back to talk about some more dolphins when you've answered questions about women's rights, children's rights, and everything else that's going on in the world.
Yes, I do believe there is a hashtag at the moment, questions Gillard should answer, and I'll be happy to answer anyone's question. I was happy to answer a young girl who wanted to know why unicorns couldn't get the vote, and I was very happy to inform her that they could get the vote as long as they were registered.
You're an unreal Prime Minister.